Good morning, everyone. Happy Friday, and it's Easter weekend starting today. Do you have any plans? Are you going to go chase after the Easter bunny or collect some eggs or arrange a hunt, or what are you doing for Easter? Boy, I remember the days when my daughter was little. Gosh, it was so much fun. Easter was so much fun. Giggles throughout the house as she collected eggs. It was so fun. I miss those days, and I don't have any grandchildren, so it's kind of sad. But we have to make do as we get older. So I might do an Easter egg hunt for my daughter. They're going to come for dinner tomorrow night, so maybe we'll do that. Who knows? All right, so let's get on with today's Fun Fold. I've brought back my Fun Fold Fridays. I did them a number of years ago. I did them for a long time, and I have quite a collection of fun folds. So they can be reproduced just using new products, new colors, new stamps, new inks, new everything. So it's kind of fun to have a lot of fun folds. And you can certainly find all my old YouTube videos are still on my YouTube channel. So if you want to go back in history and have a look at some, but I'll be reproducing a lot of them using new materials. So I'm just going to double check to make sure that I'm live on my Facebook page here. And I should be live on YouTube. So thanks for joining. Happy Easter. So last night's Case the Caddy, I used the from the annual catalog because it's retiring very soon. I used the Unbounded Beauty suite of products, very, very pretty suite of products. And since I didn't clean up my desk last night, I thought I'll just use the same suite of products, because today's Fun Fold is all about using a 12-inch piece of designer series paper. You want to look that the patterns back and front kind of go together. So maybe the same color theme. And you want to watch for the direction of the paper. Okay, what direction that pattern is. A lot of our papers are what we call bidirectional. So it doesn't matter how you turn the paper, nothing is upside down or sideways. Okay, it's just scattered all over. But other papers are definitely one way. So it's like looking at a photograph. You can't turn a photograph upside down because it's not the right way. So some of our pattern papers, you have to turn it so that it looks right. So when you're cutting your paper, you have to be aware of that. So I'll turn my camera down just to show you, and I'll just show you I made the 2 cards last night using Case the Caddy. 2 cards from the catalog itself, and then I made a 3rd one, and I ran out of time. 3 is quite a feat to do in an hour, and I don't like to rush, so that you can kind of watch the process. But I'll show you those 3 cards again, which will sort of again demonstrate how beautiful this suite of products is. Now this suite is retiring at the end of this month. And so if you like what you see, then now's the time to purchase it before it's gone. So you can just go into my online store and have a look and see what you can find. So, all right, let's get started. And let's just bring my other camera forward. There we go. Oh, and it's crooked. I don't know how that happened. Let's just straighten this out, and we'll bring it down a little bit lower. There we go. Okay. All right. So these are the suite of products has 2 stamp sets. Some of our suites only have 1 stamp set, but this one came with 2 stamp sets. And again, with our suite of products, you can either buy the whole suite or you can just buy what you want. There's no pressure there. Okay. So this is what it looks like in the catalog. You can always go back and watch my video from last night just to see the details. But this is what the beautiful products look like. It's just a gorgeous suite. Okay, so here are the 2 stamp sets, and they each come with a set of dies. Okay, and then you've got the beautiful designer series paper over here. It also came with some glitter paper, which I didn't pick up because I already had a lot of glitter paper. And it also came with some embellishments, which I did use last night on last night's card. So here are the cards that I made last night. So I thought, you know, I've got everything sitting here on my desk. Why not use the same products? Okay, so these are the cards that I made. This is actually the third and final card that I made after the video was finished last night. So it's just a simple 5x5-inch card with just a simple greeting. These are all the dies in one of the sets so that you can layer them. And then these are the beautiful little die cut leaves from that set, and then the embellishments. So the paper did all of the work on here. I just cut it to the same size as the card base. So that turned out really pretty. And then this was another card, landscape card again. And you've got the DSP as on the entire card base, and another strip of DSP on top with, again, some more of those die cuts. And here's another die cut. So the set has lots of cuts, both for the greetings and for embellishing your card design. And then this was the first one that I made. So again, I let the designer series paper do the decorating for you. So these 3 cards are actually in the catalog. And so if you want to recreate these, and again, you can recreate the same sort of design with other papers and other stamp sets. These just give you some ideas of what to do. Okay, so because I have everything sitting here, we're going to use the same set. Okay, so to start with, I'm going to show you what the fun fold looks like. So I started using some retired stuff. So this is the card base. It's just a quarter sheet of cards. So it's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And then you need a sheet of the designer series paper cut at 4 1/4 by 5 1/4. Okay, because you want to be aware of this is the height of your card, and this is 5 1/2. So this has to be cut to 5 1/4. So 5 1/4 by 12. Okay, and then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 score lines in here, and then you do this accordion fold like this. Okay, so you want to again make sure that your patterns kind of match. So because there's a floral pattern here and it's got the purples in here, the inside is purple as well. Okay, and I'll show you what happens with today's paper. So that's basically it. And then you're going to glue this to the card base. So it's really, really simple. Glue this to the card base, and then you can do any kind of decorating that you want. Okay, on the inside, we will put a piece of white cardstock so that you can write your message. And all the measurements I will put in the post after we finish today. Okay, so there you go. Or I'll give you the measurements as we go along, actually. All right, so that's kind of how that card comes together. So for today, I'm using the paper again from the Unbounded Beauty Suite. So again, when I looked at this paper, it's bi-directional. You can turn this paper any way, so it doesn't matter. And then on the back is this color here. So these two go together quite nicely. So this will be the inside of the card. And again, it's bi-directional. And this will be the outside of the card. Okay. So when you are scoring this, you're going to score it from the inside of the card. And then my card base is this one here. And this is Summer Splash. This is one of the new in colors from last year that is continuing on for another year. So that's my 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card base. And this is the inside of my card. And this measures, I'll just give you the measurement now. This is 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. 3 1/2 by 4 3/4. Okay. And then I thought I would work with some circles. Okay. For the front and the inside, the pop-up on the inside of the card. All right, so let's get started. I'm going to bring out I'm just going to take another sip of my coffee. Well, hello, Benita from Sweden. This is very special. Welcome to Canada. I'm so glad you found me. Okay, so I'm bringing out my trimmer here. And the folds are very simple, or score lines are very, very simple. So you're going to score first at, it's basically 1 inch, 4 inches, 6 inches, and 8 inches. Okay, so I'm going to go here to 1 inch. Now, if you're using the Stampin' Up! Trimmer, make sure the cutting blade, which is the dark gray one, is out of the way because you don't want to accidentally cut your paper. Tell me how I know. Okay, so I just pop that at the very, very top. And here's my score blade, which is the light gray one. So 1 inch. And then I'm going to move my paper over to 4 inches. And score. Then I'm going to move over to 6 inches. And with our trimmer, it's really nice because this arm opens and closes. When it's closed, it's exactly 6 inches. So you can just butt your paper up against the side. So I'm going to score at 6 inches. And then last but not least, I'm going to score to 8 inches. So I'm going to open up my arm and I'm going to go to 8 inches here. Now this piece here, from the 8 inches to the 12 inches, this is the inside of the card on the right-hand side. Okay, so those are your score marks, 1, 4, 6, and 8. All right, so now we're going to just fold this over because this wide piece is going on the inside of the card. You know what? I'm looking at my paper and it looks like I didn't cut it right. I didn't cut it right. Oh my goodness gracious. I did not cut this right. This is not 5 and this is 4 1/4, not 5 1/4. My mistake. This piece, which I cut correctly, this is, what am I doing? This is, yeah, this is 5 1/4. All right, so this is not cut right. All right, we did a practice run and learned we didn't do it right. So I've got, here's the same sheet. Let's cut this correctly this time, Erica. Okay, so I want this to my card base. So this is how you know what the measurement is. My card base is 5 1/2 inches. That's a regular sized card, 5 1/2 by 4 1/4. So I want to cut this at 5 1/4. Okay, so 5 1/4 over here. Okay, now I don't get embarrassed by the mistakes that I made because it's always a learning process. And sometimes it puts people at ease to see when the so-called professionals, we're not professionals, but the so-called professionals make a mistake. Okay, all right, so we're going to start over with our scoring. So this is better so that when I pull out my card base, you see, we've got the 1/8 of an inch at each end just to frame the card. Okay, so that's the logistics behind that. All right, so I'm going to score at 1 inch. So again, my cutting blade's at the top. So 1 inch, 4 inches. 6 inches and 8 inches. 8 inches. Okay, it's almost like you hit the replay button. Okay, so we're done with the trimmer. All right. So this is the outside, this is the inside, this is the inside piece here that's going to go on our card base. Okay, so this is our first fold. I'm going to pull out my bone folder because you want a nice crisp crease. Okay, so once you fold it over the one at the 8-inch score line, this one here, fold it over, then you're going to fold it back on the next score line. Then you're going to fold it forward on the next score line. And then you're going to fold it back on the last score line. Okay, so there is your card. So you see how nicely the two sides of the paper go together. Now, you can look at it and make sure, you see mine's a little bit crooked there. So I'm just going to butt that up against the left edge and I'm going to score it. Just going to drag my bone folder down and refold it. Okay. So there you go. So we're going to glue this to the base of our card. So I'm going to use Tombow glue so that I have some wiggle room to make sure I get it on there straight. So there are many, many accordion fold patterns out there. It's quite a popular fold for fun folds. Okay, so let's just try and get that as even as possible on our card base. Because I need a bit of wiggle room there. Okay, now it's time to decorate. Now, I'm not sure what I want to do for the inside of the card, but this is the white piece that goes inside. And why I like it cut smaller than a typical layer is because you can see the pattern paper behind it. So it's really, really pretty. And this gives you an idea for when you're doing the inside of your cards to layer it first with some DSP behind the white piece. So the white piece doesn't always have to be the full typical 4 by 5 1/4 inch layer. You could make it an 1/8 inch smaller and put in a piece of pattern paper behind it. I think it really gives it a bit of a wow factor when you open up the card. So we're going to be putting that in there, but before I glue it, we might do some stamping. I'm not sure yet what I'm doing. All right, so basically how the pop-up works is that I'm going to be building a circle here on the outside. Now these are from the Stylish Shapes dies, and this is the second largest circle. These are the Stylish Shapes dies, which shows you that you don't have to use a circle. You could use the squares as well. Okay. So we're going to put this on here, and I thought I would put happy birthday on the front, and then we're going to stamp. This is a 2-step stamping set where I have an outside stamp and an inside fill stamp. Okay, so it's 2-step stamping. And then I brought out a happy birthday from the greeting set. And then I brought out some leaves. Now, I already did some pre-cutting and pre-designing. So this is what this leaf stamp looks like. I stamped it actually in Pretty Peacock because there is Pretty Peacock in the pattern paper here. So I stamped it in Pretty Peacock, and then I colored it with my blends. So I just did the light shade, but I'm going to add a bit of dark to that just to give it a bit more dimension. And then using these adorable little leaf dies here from the other die set, look how cute these are. I actually cut out these leaves here. So there's a double leaf. See the double leaf? I realize I'm out of camera here. So here's the double leaf. Look how pretty that is. And then there's a single leaf. Okay, so I just cut out a bunch of these to use as part of my decor. Okay, and then I also stamped a few more of these leaves, and there's a die to cut these leaves out as well. So I'm going to have a few I haven't decided what I'm doing where, but it's good to maybe make a few more. I figure if you've got all of your supplies out, you might as well make extras so that you're kind of a little ahead for the next card design. And then this is the circle that I used from the Stylish Shapes dies. Okay. All right. So I'm going to add, okay, so here is where I used my light Pretty Peacock. So I'm just going to color these leaves. And I just want to remind you that when you're coloring, you don't have to be perfect. Nature isn't perfect, right? So even as I scribble, I'm leaving on purpose some little white spaces in there because this can represent light shining on the leaves. So you don't have to be perfect. You want to think about when you're coloring, you want to think about where the light source is coming from. If you take a basic painting class, see, these look too perfect. See, these ones look too perfect. So I want to show you a tip with the blends. I'm just going to go and grab, now that I'm talking about light. People often overlook this blend. Blend. It is called a color lifter. So it's clear. It's just got alcohol in it. Okay. And so what you can do with this is after you've colored an image, you can just either just dot on there. Okay. And it will actually lift the color off. You can just put a few little dots on there and let it dry. And then you'll see that it has lifted. It almost looks like there's water droplets. I don't know if the camera is going to pick that up with my lighting here. But I can see it's lifted the color. So there's little splotches of white in there. So that's a really, really handy blend to have. And they more or less invented this. And this was brought out. The original alcohol markers were Copics. They originally came out with this idea so that if you colored outside the edges, so if I colored outside the edges, the color lifter was used if you just dragged it over your ink on the outside of the image, it would pull up the ink. So that's basically what that's used for. Okay, so let me grab the die for this one. Here it is. It's a double leaf die. Okay, and I will cut these out. Now I like to use a little bit of tape just to hold the die in place so it doesn't shift while it's cutting. So here's one. Here's the second one. Now, if you go to the dollar store, you can pick up these really small cellophane bags. They're really small. I think they were designed for baseball or hockey cards so that you could put them in a protective pocket. And they're really handy for keeping little die cuts in. And I just pop the little bag inside my stamp set. So, Stampin' Up designs a lot of designer series papers where you can take one of the dies and cut it out from the paper. So if I'm going to design a card, I'm going to spend some time cutting out a whole bunch from the paper and then they're ready to use on my next project. So those little cellophane bags come in really handy for storing all of your die cuts. All right, here's our last little leaf here. Okay, now we should have enough to design with now. Now, the next thing I want to do is stamp the flowers. This one needs a bit of a trim. This, even with the tape, it shifted a bit, which is surprising. So no problem. I'm just gonna trim this a little bit. Hi, Sharon. How are you today? Yes, I am fine. You know, the sad thing about being retired, people think I'm crazy saying that, but is that, you know, when a long weekend comes, half the time I don't even realize it's a long weekend. Drives my husband crazy. He'll go, "It's a long weekend this weekend." I go, "Well, is it?" You don't really watch for that, or you don't appreciate it as much. When I was working my whole career, oh my gosh, I couldn't wait to get a long weekend. And, you know, I'd look forward to it for weeks. And anyway, not to say retirement isn't great, but it's kind of not the same when a long weekend comes. Okay. So I've got, I decided to use the Pretty Peacock ink, and I'm going to stamp, hang on, let's do our flowers first, because I'm not 100% sure what I'm designing here. All right, so I'm going to do the flowers. I'll show you the flowers here on this card that I made last night. I did one of the flowers in the Petunia Pop, and the other one is in the Pretty in Pink. Okay, and in this case, and in a lot of floral cases, don't think that you have to stamp your flowers in our Memento Black. We usually do stamping in black, and then we color. But with flowers, you don't have to do that. You can actually stamp them in the same color, because when you look in nature, flowers don't have a black outline, right? Okay, so the way you do these is that I was showing the ladies last night. When you have two-step stamping, you need to line up the fill image with the outline image. So what I usually do is I take the outline image first before I've mounted on my block, and I put it face down, and I find some distinctive point on it. So on this one, there's this point right here on the left-hand side. Okay, so then I'll put my block on. Okay, and then I'm going to stamp this. We'll do the darker pink first. I'm going to stamp this. Let's move our card out of the way. In the Petunia Pop. I'm going to stamp the outline first. Okay, so now I've got it stamped. Then what I do is I will take the fill piece and I match up that point with this point. Okay, so that you know that's the way you want to put it on your block. Okay, so you try and line up your stamp as best you can. Doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, and you're going to pick up your block. Okay, and now it's ready. Okay, so I'm going to ink it up with this Petunia Pop. I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper here, and I'm going to ink it off because I don't want it as dark as the outline. Stamp it off, and then I'm going to stamp it. There you go. Okay, so I'm going to do maybe, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to do two of these, two of the Petunia Pops. We'll do another one. So there's my point. And then I'll do the fill. I'm going to stamp off first and then fill it in. Okay, so there you go. That's the one color. And then I'm going to clean my, I'm going to put this color away. And I'm going to pull in the lighter color. Let's just give these a clean. And also what I was saying last night too is after you clean your stamp, before you put it on the ink pad, you want to make sure it's dry, because you will have a few little water droplets on here. So just stamp it off on a clean sheet of paper to get it dry. Otherwise the ink doesn't sit very well on the stamp. Okay. All right, so let's do this color now, Pretty in Pink. So I'm going to do this. Might as well do it twice. Okay, and then let's do the fill. I'm going to stamp off. And you want to try and get your head right over it so that you can see that you're lining it up. Okay. I love two-step stamping. I think it just saves you coloring. Of course, if you like to color, that's okay. I do love to color, but I love the two-step stamping too. Look how beautiful those turned out. Okay. So let's close that up, and then we're going to grab the die for this one, which is over here. I want to show you the dies. Look at the dies. You've got so many options. You've got these wonderful flourishes, and then you've got a stamp that stamps flowers, and then it cuts them all out, and then you place them on this piece here and on this piece. And then you've got these beautiful little daisies. Well, no, they're not daisies, little posies of some kind. Okay, now the die is easy to line up because there is a very distinctive point on there. So I'm just going to place that on there like that. Okay, and grab my tape, and we'll die cut these, and then we're totally ready to start designing our card. I'm deciding where we're going to put what. So here's our second flower. Sorry, that one wasn't lined up very well. So let me just fix that. And then we have one more to do. Look how beautiful these colors go together. This pretty peacock is just a gorgeous, gorgeous green. I love it. I really love all of our Stampin' Up! Colors. They do a really, really nice job. And they all miraculously coordinate so well together. Doesn't matter what color you put with what. All right, so there we've got our flowers. Okay, let's start designing. Okay, so we're going to have this main circle on the front with a greeting. Happy birthday. I'm going to do that in Lost Lagoon. Sorry, in Pretty Peacock. And then we have to decide, do we want a flower on here with maybe some leaves? Okay, we can do that sort of thing. And maybe add one of these on here, a single one, over on this side. I better stamp the happy birthday first, okay? Yeah, let's stamp the happy birthday first. So let's get out our Pretty Peacock. How are you guys doing? You okay? What are your plans for the weekend? I'm going to do this a little bit tilted just to be different. Look how beautiful. Look at that font. It's just gorgeous. It's a beautiful font. Okay, now let's go back and put on a flower. We'll tuck some leaves underneath. And we'll put another one over here. Look at that. Isn't that cute? All right. Now I think I'll put this on dimensionals, this one. So let's grab a dimensional. Now, if you put your dimensionals in the center of the flower, you can always tuck things underneath it. Excuse me, even when you're gluing, don't glue to the outside edges because you always have an opportunity to then tuck some leaves behind if you only concentrate your glue on the center of that flower. Okay, so now I'm going to pull out some glue. And I'm just going to put glue on the bottom of the stem there because this is going to overlap. And I'm just going to get rid of that white that's there. Tuck that one under. And then this one. Now, I showed a tip last night in my video. I recommend getting more than one silicone mat for this very reason here. I'm going to show you a tip. I bought these brushes. These are silicone basting brushes. And what you do, they're long bristles, right? So you cut them shorter so that they're not as flexible. They're not sloppy, like sloppy this way, back and forth. So you cut them really, really short. And then you use your glue, put a dab of glue on a mat. Okay. And then this is for intricate die cuts. Okay. You turn your die cut face down on the mat. So the rough edge is is facing you. And then you dab into your ink here and dab it so that you don't have big blobs of glue on the brush. Make sure you hold that die cut down so it doesn't move, because if it moves, it's going to go into the glue. And then I like to use tweezers. And I'm going to pick that up. Okay, and now I'm ready to put it on my card. Okay, so that's a little tip for using for gluing your intricate die cuts. Now, we do have what are called adhesive sheets in the online store, and they're great. I'm not very good at using them. I don't know. I find them really fiddly. I would just rather use my Tombow glue and find methods to do it. But yeah, that's what I would prefer to do. Okay, so this is going on the front of the card here. Now I'm going to set aside my gluey mat. That's one thing you have to be careful of. And let's close up our ink pad. Okay, so this is going on. Now, when you glue this on, you're only gluing one half of it right onto this tab here. Okay, make sure you don't put glue on the whole thing because you don't want it to glue onto this part here. So I'm going to put a bit of glue. As a matter of fact, because I'm using this circle, you know what? I'm just going to put some glue. I'm going to leave my fingers here like that. And I'm going to put some glue right here. It's kind of in the center of the circle, but that's much easier. Put it on. I'm going to tilt it a bit. I'm going to hold that down. So that's the front of your card here, okay? Now on the inside, you can have a little pop-up that comes here. Now I could do the same circle on there, but I think that might be a bit too much. And I want it hidden by this circle, okay? So I might just do a couple of flowers. Might just pop them on like this. So that and I want them hidden, they're going to be totally hidden by this flat here. So that when the person opens the card, they see these other two flowers here, okay? So again, you don't want a lot of glue. I'm going to just put glue on this side here. And glue this on. And then I'm going to throw in some leaves. So again, I put glue on the center of that flower so I can pop in my leaves. And then I'm going to kind of create a little cluster here. Like that. And I put a few more leaves right there. Okay, so there you go. You're going to open your card and you're going to have this little pop-up that comes out. Isn't that cute? Okay, and then we have our main card for the inside, and then you can decide how you want to decorate this. You could put a little strip of designer series paper along the bottom, or you could stamp some more of those leaves, or you could put in another flower here at the bottom, which I think would be really nice. But actually I don't want it showing, so we could put it in the top corner like that. You want to think about how your card closes. So we could put that in the top corner, and we could use maybe one of these little leaves here like that. Oh, that's really pretty. Any way you do it, it's pretty. Okay, and that's going to go in like that. All right, so, and then if you decide to want to stamp something on the inside, then do that before you, just want to experiment with something. I'm not sure I like this white edge here. I wonder if we should put some more leaves in here. What do you guys think? I could just stamp some random leaves, but then what if they don't work out? Let's see. I think we need something here. I might just put that leaf right there. Just so it's not so white. Or I could use one of these. Oh, I like that a lot. Yes, let's do that. Let's put this on here. So I'm going to bring back my glue mat and my little brush. You don't need a lot of glue. Let's just tuck this in the corner here. Thanks, Sharon. Okay, so I'm going to glue this inside the card now. I'll just use my Tombow. Okay, and then we're going to do this flower. Make sure you turn this flower in the right direction because there's the pistils are going up. Just want to watch for that. And then let's put in another one of these. Okay. Tuck that in like that. Okay, there's your card, your fun fold. It's a pop-up. You could call it a pop-up accordion fold. Look how pretty that is. Okay, and just to finish it off, let's put, I don't know, a card to me is not complete without a few little embellishments on it. Let's do this pale pink maybe. There you go. There's your, excuse me. Hi, Carolyn. You're in Arizona? Bet you've got some nice weather right now. We've got beautiful weather up here. It's warm. It was 20 yesterday here. It was gorgeous. Anyway, there is your fun fold card for this Good Friday. Thank you so much for joining me, ladies. Let's just pop up and say goodbye. Yes, thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend. And I'm not coming back on Monday. I'm going to take the day off on Monday. So no Mojo Monday, but I'll be back the following Thursday night for another Case the Caddy. So I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much. You can catch the replay here if you didn't get a chance to see it live. You can also catch it on YouTube. Thank you. Happy Easter, everyone. Bye.